I'm Wendy Capewell, an experienced counsellor and psychotherapist. I work with so many people who feel that they're the only ones struggling with the issues that they share with me. Possibly, like many of you, they feel so alone. And so the aim of this podcast is to talk to guests who have their own stories to share, their experience of the struggles that they've been through, or maybe they're continuing to live with, offering their insights as well as their inspiring journey. So let me introduce my guest.
I wonder how many of you, like me, have been in toxic relationships and wondered, well, one, the pain of it or not noticing it to start with, but then how do you get out of them and how do you heal from them? Well, my guest today is going to help us with that one. So Stephanie Martin, welcome. And she is a certified life coach and love advocate. So please introduce yourself, Stephanie.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I got started into life coaching a couple years ago, and it really stemmed from my personal experience with a toxic relationship and my self-discovery and self-love journey after that, and wanting to be able to help other women with the same struggles.
As I said, it's something that happened with me. And I guess to start with, I hadn't realized that it was toxic. It all seemed pretty okay. And it took a while for me to realize that yeah, it wasn't right. And I think, so I wonder, what was that your experience too?
Yes, I didn't even know really how unhealthy my relationship was until I was actually out of it. And I think that, even like you said, that a lot of people are the same way. And I think really being able to look back on the relationship and realize all the things that were going on that made it toxic, and how some of those behaviors can be disguised as love or a very, extreme soulmate connection, or certain things like that, where it can kind of mask all the toxic behavior.
Yeah, I'm remembering back for me, I think it was my experience was when it was disguised as love. It was definitely caring. I really care about you. I worry about you. I'm concerned that when you're talking to other men, that they've got an ulterior motive. The world outside is fearful. There were lots of kinds of messages like that I received. And it always, I think underneath it, he probably did feel love and was concerned, but the effect it had on me was it shut my world down. And because I hadn't got the knowledge that I have now, the understanding of his mental health condition, I railed against it. And so it really felt like, how dare you tell me how to speak? How dare you tell me how to dress? How dare you? It was really, challenging my autonomy and how I'd live my life. So I think that's what happened for me. And however much there was a sense of that fondness between us, those kind of incidents would make me rail against them, and I was feeling really controlled. And yeah, so I wonder if that's something you experienced maybe with your clients as well, or you recognize that.
Yes, I can personally definitely relate to a lot of that as well. And with my clients too, a lot of the control and jealousy, and that being kind of disguised and, well, I am this way because I love you so much, or things like that. And we can get very caught up in that. And until we, really learn to find our voice and empower ourselves and love ourselves and know our worth, then that can take a big effect on us and affect all parts of our lives.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there was a part of me as well that was trying to be compliant, because I felt that if only I'd satisfied that need, if only I, was it partly me? It must be my fault. Well, that's part of my personal story that I carried around for a long time, still do on occasions. But it was trying, well, if only. And the worst thing that I did really was knowing that it wasn't working. I thought, well, maybe he'll trust me if we get married. And it was the worst thing ever. So I think between railing against that kind of control and then trying to please and comply, it really just, it was a recipe for complete disaster.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, as women, we tend to be natural people pleasers and lovers and givers, and we really put in all this effort to make it work. And I was the same way. And I know some other clients that I work with, they stay for a very long time because we want to make it work, and either marriage or children end up tying us in, or we just don't realize how really unhealthy it is for us while we're in the relationship.
And I think I agree with you. It's all the things that hold us in the relationship. But I think one of the things that came up for me was the hope that this time things will be different.
Yeah.
And that we really do want to hope we can make it work. We really do want to believe that they mean they're sorry. We do really want to feel that they do care, all of that stuff. And I think that's why so many abusive relationships continue, because we want to believe them. We want to believe that things could be different. We want to be loved. Of course we do. So, yeah.
Yeah. I feel that definitely that was a big reason why I stayed. And, I ended up being engaged and having to walk away from that potential marriage and wedding. And I'm so glad that I did walk away for that before it ended up in marriage. But, I was the same way. Oh, let's get married. That will fix it. Or this or that. And realized that I couldn't change him, and nothing I could do would make it better. And that was my big wake up call.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked about the toxicity and how we get caught up in it. How about the healing? Because I know my confidence was at least 6 foot under, if not much more after that. I really had no confidence whatsoever.
Yeah, it can really take a toll on us, because you're heartbroken, for one, once you get out of it, and you're dealing with everything that comes along with that. And then it's kind of this whole whirlwind experience where you're left being like, what what happened? And I think you can really lose parts of yourself, which also takes a toll on your confidence. And so for me and for my clients, it's all about really finding yourself again and reconnecting with yourself after getting out of a toxic relationship, so that you can start building up that confidence again and empowering yourself.
And that's it, isn't it? It's how you kind of do build that, how you begin to, because for me it took several, I'm going to say several months after it was all over, because obviously there was a horrendous divorce as well. But it took quite a while to begin to feel that anxiety. I moved house, and I was so concerned that there he would find me, that I was scared of my own shadow. I was scared of coming into the house, that somebody might be lying in wait. I didn't open the blinds in my sitting room for months. All of those things where I was almost scared of myself, scared to go anywhere, scared to do anything, let alone being able to have the confidence to take on a new job and start my life again.
Yeah, it can cause a lot of fear and a lot of doubt within ourselves too. Yeah, so I too am a huge proponent of therapy. I think finding a therapist that you can work with after getting out of a relationship like that can be extremely helpful. And really just doing anything you can to find your way back to yourself.
How do we find ourselves?
I know, that's the
A big
that's
question.
$1 million question right there. For me, I'll share my personal experience. I did a lot of solo traveling. I love to travel, and that was a huge thing that I knew would be out of my comfort zone. And that's something I always recommend to clients as well, is to start doing things that are out of your comfort zone that might have scared you in the past. Because once you do those things, you're going to build up your confidence. You're like, oh, I can do this. This was an amazing experience. So for me, I found that in traveling the world on my own and really proving to myself that I could be out in the world and handle myself and start to really gain that independence back, because we can tend to lose that in toxic relationships as well.
Yeah, because I guess when you're with someone, even if they're not being, if it's not a pleasant experience, at least you've got someone around. And just that, I think that's another element, isn't it? Suddenly being on your own. I think, and not having anyone to check things out with, am I doing the right thing, or shall we make a decision about what, a problem buying some furniture, or whether it's paying bills, or managing finances. I think suddenly we're on our own, and it can feel quite scary when you've had someone around. Even if it was a constant battle, there was just somebody there. And I think being on our own, that was I guess that was quite a big one for me too, suddenly being on my own. Yeah. But
and being alone can be scary. I would say that's probably the biggest fear that I found within clients, or just speaking with people, is their fear to be alone. And that also, I think, contributes to us maybe lowering our standards a little bit in relationships, because we don't want to be alone. So basically proving to yourself, being independent, that you can be okay alone, will also help you not get into those types of relationships going forward.
And I think you can be so lonely in a relationship, in a bad relationship. I don't think there's anything quite as lonely as being in that place. So yeah, it is. It can feel scary, I agree. But I just found so many benefits, like you. And I love travel as well. So yes, having that freedom of going, I'm just going to go. I'm going to travel, and I don't have to ask anyone else permission. I don't have to please anybody else. I don't have to consider anybody, where I go, what time I get up, any of that, or what I eat. I can do exactly what I want. And I think, as you say, if you enjoy travel, then I would say, do it. but it might be I wonder if there's something else as well. Maybe not everybody would feel that was a bit too far, but
Right.
what might you do? I guess it's what might we do that is out of our comfort zone that we might enjoy, because I think there's nothing worse than putting yourself, I'm going to go out my comfort zone, but actually I'm going to be so miserable, I'm not going to even try it. So yeah, maybe there are other things, maybe hobbies or things that you've thought about doing but didn't have the courage to do but always wanted to try or wanted to do. I guess one of the things I did as well was I always believed that I couldn't paint or draw. I mean, even from a child, just can't do it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to join an art group and a class and see if someone can teach me. And I think that was one of the things that I proved to myself. I could produce a piece of work that looked like whatever it was I was trying to paint. And it was just that, because I think that helped me build my self-esteem as well.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a huge thing that I recommend as well, is to find hobbies that you have either never tried or maybe did when you were younger that you haven't done in a long time, and get back into that, or pick up something new like art or crafts or something that you've always thought would be cool. And also just maybe taking yourself out, take yourself out to dinner or something like that. Those are kind of smaller things, if you're not ready to jet off to the other side of the world for a couple weeks by yourself. But yeah, those are some more doable things you can do on even a daily basis. And I love the idea of doing art. I think using our creativity too is very healing.
Yeah. Yes. I think doing something different, maybe you're right. It was doing something different. I've always thought, well, couldn't I? That doubt. And then that made me feel a bit better about myself. I think that really helped. And I guess maybe just there are other things, aren't there? Within the community, what groups are there you could go and join? If you ever want to join a choir or a drama group, or I don't know what kind of things. I think it is just looking around and being open to what else could there be around? What might I try?
Yeah. Any sort of body movement too can be super empowering. I found doing at home fitness started to be my thing, and I found a lot of self-confidence through that. But if you've ever wanted to try a yoga class or a kickboxing class, something like that, even a dance class, any sort of body movement can be super powerful.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I think it is, and even where there are other people around you, that you start feeling more normal, rather than that. Is that I just felt so self-conscious, I think, as well. So maybe being with other people that we don't have to share our past with, because that was something that I don't know if your clients feel like that, is suddenly, well, am I almost wearing this sign that says, you're damaged goods or whatever else that label might I have no self-confidence, I'm vulnerable, I'm not worthy, or all those things. I think, start turning over that fresh page.
Yes. Yeah. And becoming like your own best friend, I like to say. It sounds cheesy, but I think that's really big, and that's what you start building when you spend time alone or doing things that are going to build up your confidence, getting out of your comfort zone. You really start to build that trust back within yourself and have that connection with yourself that you may have not have felt in a really long time.
Yeah. And our best friend will be so much kinder to us than we are to ourselves.
Yes, that's a big thing too, working on how you talk to yourself. And that's also a good reminder, if your own best friend, then you're not criticizing yourself all the time or getting down on yourself, and that can start to build up some self-forgiveness as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. And reminding ourselves maybe it takes time. I think that's the other thing, because we want to feel back to normal so quickly. And I know, as I said, it took me quite a while for me to build myself back up. And I think reminding ourselves we can't we're not going to get back to that feeling of, oh, I don't know. Some people do. I think they can immediately go back and feel, yeah, I feel great and released. But I think if for those of us that struggled, and I think maybe that being kind and patient.
It does take time, for
Yeah.
sure, and definitely building that support system around you,
Mm.
getting some sort of community, or it could be a Facebook group, it could be a therapist, it could be some sort of support group, um, a yoga studio, anything, but just having great, uplifting, supportive people around you. And
Mm.
it does take time. I promised myself like a whole year of like no dating, uh, you know, no men, no nothing, to just really spend that time with myself and heal
Mm.
and really get to know myself before I felt comfortable getting into another relationship.
I think that's really good advice, because I think it's too easy to feel, I feel lonely, I've got to find someone to love and love me, and jumping into a relationship when we're not healed. I think that's and then carrying on the same mistakes and not learning or healing. I think, yeah, great advice. Yeah. So what is one thing that listeners could take away with themselves? What could they put into practice now, or some good advice?
Yeah, so I think I'll kind of tie up what we were talking about before. And my biggest piece of advice is to date yourself. That's what I
Mm.
like to call it. And to really take that time to get to know yourself again, and maybe bring back some of those pieces that you may have lost, and to start gaining your independence back and showing yourself really the love, caring, affection, respect that you deserve. And yeah, think of it like taking yourself out on dates, and whatever that looks like for you, whether if it's a travel or a new hobby, or just taking yourself out for ice cream or
Mm.
dinner, or a hike, just anything that really brings you joy, and find your way back to yourself. And that's going to build confidence and self-love and your self-worth.
That's really good advice. I really like that. Yeah. I like the idea of dating ourselves. I think that almost feels about self-love, because if we're dating, it is about self-indulgence, being nice to ourselves, and treating ourselves well. So yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay. So if people want to know more about Stephanie, I'm going to put all the details in the show notes, so you can learn more about her and whether you'd like to contact her and find out how you might be able to work with her. But one easy way, Stephanie, that people can contact you if they're just listening.
Yeah, so you can head to my website. It's stephaniemartincoaching.com. I have a free meditation on there as well. And if you want to book a discovery call or check out my program, Liberated and Loved, that's all on my website.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much today, Stephanie, for being my guest. And thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you found this episode interesting as well as helpful. Do get in touch if you would like to learn more about working with me. My email address is info@wendycapewell.co.uk. Take good care of yourself. Until next time.